Welcome back to another episode of WTF. Welcome to Friday, or what the you get to pick. Depends how your week has gone. For me, it's welcome to Friday. It's been an incredible week. An incredible week. I'm Cheryl Pankhurst. I'm your host. This is the spin-off series from our Wednesday episodes, Parenting Teens Advice Redefined for Today's World, where we have our interviews and our experts, and we talk about those real, raw, honest conversations about the major challenges we can experience with our teens and how to tap into it's not them, it's you, and that's where the magic happens. And I have to say, I had to do this episode today because I am obsessed. I am obsessed is an understatement with what I do. As a parent advocate, as having a voice for parents in schools, in systems, that information they didn't know they had, access to information that is just not readily available, not accessible, unless you happen to be in the system for so many years and have a view of everything, have a view of how the school system works, how administrators work, what the funding is like, where there's some money, where there's some access, what accommodations are, what an assessment looks like, what a diagnosis looks like, all of the things that are part of advocating with parents, not even for parents, with parents, so that they get the support for their kids. And along the way, the kids get to learn how to advocate for themselves. It's such a gift. My job as a parent advocate is for you to eventually not need me anymore. This is not a lifelong thing. This is, let's sit down, let's get the information, let me show you what's available, let's learn how the systems work so we know how to access things. That is my goal, that you could just, I work myself out of needing a contract with you. But I'm obsessed, and I'll tell you why. I had this amazing family I'm working with, incredible. This kid is incredible. And moving from one system to another, leaving a system that isn't working and being ignored, and then trying to get into another system and sending emails and getting zero responses over the past few months, and resigning to the fact that, well, it's the end of the school year, just see what happens. And there's so many parents in this position, and there's no blame there. How would you know? How would you know if you're not in it? And there's so much to say. You don't know what you don't know, so you don't know what to ask. And working with this family for just a couple of weeks, we got responses to the emails that I sent, set up meetings within a week, had everything we needed for a smooth, positive transition for their kid. And their kid's got some stuff. And the last thing that this kid needs is to walk into a brand new building, not know anybody, not have any supports in place, because all of these things take time once the first day of school starts. So in getting everything set up, we're now ready for September. And it really impacted me when the parents said to me, listen, thank you, because we would have just walked into the school, first day of school, and said, here's our kid. And that meant so much to me, because I think sometimes we just resign ourselves because we hit a roadblock. And for parents who are, now it's the end of the year, now your kids are no longer in school. And if you are in a situation now where your kid is going into a different grade and last year was not successful, and they're neurodivergent, they have a diagnosis, they need supports and are entitled to supports. If you're sitting there going, well, it's the end of June now, Cheryl, I just wait. No, that's not necessary. We can still make progress between now and September. We can still be communicating and setting up a plan and having an actual documented transition plan for your kid. If your kid has an IEP, a transition plan documented is a legal responsibility for the school. Now there's anomalies where if you're going from like a private system or a Montessori system, they don't typically write IEPs. So they wouldn't have a documented transition plan. But this is all things that we can ask for, even though it's not a legality. And then we are transitioning them into the next school. What do they need when they hit the front doors on the very first day of school? Because all the paperwork, all the conversations, all the emails, all the files that get sent mean nothing. What to the kid means nothing to the kid. The way that kid feels walking through the front door of the school for the very first day is going to set the precedent for them for the rest of the year. And depending on what level of challenge your kid might have, this could mean meltdown. This could mean school refusal. I'm done. I'm not going back. And it's so hard to backpedal. I've seen it so many times. And so the process of having an advocate, and obviously I love being an advocate, but find an advocate who is not just calling themselves an advocate and they're like a bulldog, guns a-blazing, but have no idea of what the other side of the coin is. They're just in, parents need this, they're going into the schools, they're angry, here's my rights, human rights, all of that. But find yourself an advocate who has been working inside the system, has great experience with how schools work, how the school system works, what the education system is like, how administration works, what rights and responsibilities are there for supports. Get somebody who knows this stuff, because they are the ones that can pave the way to a smooth transition for your kid. It's like a mechanic. I could go to a mechanic. The mechanic works on cars all day long, literally all day long. And I could walk in the mechanics and say, hey, can you change my oil? I don't know how to change my oil. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know how to change your oil? Well, I don't know how to change my oil, and I don't know how to, it takes me 10 minutes to figure out the lever that lifts up the hood just to put in my windshield washer fluid. I don't know how to change my oil. But because this guy has been in it for so long and just immersed in what he does, it can do it blindfolded, but I don't know what to ask. I don't even know how to ask how to change the oil. I don't know what I don't know. So I leave it to the mechanic to change my oil, to fix my brakes, to keep me safe. And I invite you to think about, if you are stuck and you're thinking, okay, it's the end of June, I hit every roadblock, and now I'm just going to stress all summer and maybe watch my kids stress all summer about what next year is going to look like. Even if you're going into the same school and it was not a great experience last year, or you've just received a diagnosis and you have a 60-page document, but you have no idea what it actually means and breaks down to. Not because you should know, because that's not your business to know. So you find somebody who can break it down and show you there's different areas in an assessment where this looks like this at school, but it doesn't look like that at home. This is what it looks like at home, and break it down for you so that you can support your kid in every area, home and school and social. So, and every time we make headway where a parent couldn't make headway, every time we get a response and, have a meeting and the parents are feeling heard and seen and held, and they had space, but everyone at the table feels seen and heard and has space. We're talking about administrators who are like working to the bone, and you have teachers who, I don't have time for this, I don't know what that looks like. That's what a good advocate who is inside the system or has been inside the system, that's where we come into play. That's where we can make a huge, huge difference in your kid's transition. So I had to get in there and say this because, like I said, I'm obsessed. If you need any help with this, I am going to put the link in the comments. You can go into my bio You can find me at CherylPankhurst.com. Easy peasy. Everything is there. Even if you just have a couple of questions, jump on a discovery call with me. Complimentary. I want to see if I can help. I want to show you how I can help. This is going to set the whole year for your kid getting into September. How do you want that to look like? What do you want your kid to feel walking in that front door and then moving forward? That is vital, vital, vital. All right. Happy Friday. WTF or what the, take your pick. I'm again Cheryl Pankhurst. I'm your host, and I am so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that you're listening. And, you know, if you're sitting there in the dark and you're Googling and you just feel lost, but you're listening to podcasts and you're reading the books and you're asking the questions, you're still in the game. You're not failing. You're not losing. You are in the game. Parenting, period. Hardest frickin' job on the planet. Hands down. Add another layer if you're parenting a neurodivergent kid. Hands down. Hardest job in the world. My hats off to you. If you're still listening, if you're still reading, if you're still asking, again, you're in the game. And if you're feeling a little lost, I got you. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. See you next week.